Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan here to recap the Eagles' win over the New York Jets, 33-18. Kind of an interesting game, just the flow of it, the way it started off left a lot of people concerned. But when all is said and done, Adam, it was a pretty convincing win, a double-digit win. The Eagles got back to 6-7, I should say. They should climb to 6-7, and they go into the bye week with a chance to rest some injuries. We saw some injuries at the end of the game. We saw Jason Kelce limp off. Miles Sanders got hurt, so it was almost like last week revisited against the Giants, and we'll see. But they get the extra opportunity. But 13 weeks into the year, that started off 2-5, I believe, Adam. And look, they still got a playoff berth within reach there. And in the Eagles game against the Jets, they took care of business. I think that's the big takeaway there.
Yeah, they did. Look, it was such a crazy game. First of all, what was the over under 40? I think you said on
44,
Sunday it dropped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it went from 45 to 44.
Right, it went over, but there were only 9 points scored the second half, and they were all field goals. It was a very strange game. You know, the Jets come out with a great kickoff return. Really, the Eagles' special teams this year have been mostly solid, and Jake Elliott has had a great year, Pro Bowl type year. Kudos to Tyler Brown, their specials coach who handles the punters and kickers.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, that's Michael Clay there on the coverage. He's responsible for that part, I think, as the overall special teams coach. And coverage unit failed them there. But overall, the Eagles rebounded. Their offense was basically unstoppable in the first half, putting up 24 points. And my player of the game coming in was Dallas Goedert, and it hit what I was looking for, short to intermediate passes. And the screen game, the screen game's back.
It is back in a big way, almost like it was so back that it was that I joked with you during the game. I'm like, that's actually their primary play call is the screen. I mean, that's like the 4-yard run for most teams. They're just dialing up screen. But it was really interesting. How do you feel about the team, big picture wise, at 6? Is they're right kind of where we thought that they would be going into the year, and now you've got 4 division games left, 2 against Washington, which is very interesting, and then of course a rematch against the Giants and Cowboys.
Yeah, look, they're going to hit my win total of my, as I do win ranges with every team. I gave the Eagles 7-8 wins, or they're going to clearly hit that, and they could very well surpass it. The way that this team is played so uneven, some games are kind of volatile. This game here, when the Jets went down, but of course missed the extra point, that kicker. I mean, poor guy. I can imagine his stay will be very long now.
No, I can't imagine.
He helped him out. And obviously the story of the game is Gardner Minshew, who I had predicted to someone close to him that my prediction was 20 to 27 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. He almost hit it on the nose. In fact, it was 20 for 25, for 242 and 2 touchdowns. Didn't turn it over, and boy, processed great in the first half. To me, the story of the game is the way that Minshew handled the offense, and the thing that was so impressive is that you notice when he was under pressure, he seemed to know where the outlet guy was. Always finding he didn't get stuck in the pocket like Zach Wilson was. We'll get to him, though he had obviously some good plays. But overall, though the second half didn't go as like they wanted to, way too many field goals, 4 field goals, I think, in the second half. Minshew really did a good job overall. Didn't turn it over. Had the big plays to Goedert, and they have to feel good about that. Left some plays on the field. There's no question about that. But they also ran the hell of it. Overall, offensively, very good, but they also left some plays on the field.
It is just so Eagles-like for the backup quarterback to come in and have a good game. It really is. We joke about the quarterback factory comment that Howie made and how it's really not one. But if they're going to say anything, they are a backup quarterback factory. They really are.
That's it.
I mean, from Detmer, from whether it's Coy, whether it's AJ Feely, Foles, obviously, Jeff Garcia. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Michael Vick was a backup to Kevin Cobb.
Yes. Until he took it from Kevin Cobb. It's so funny you mentioned Coy Detmer because that's exactly because he's wearing Coy Detmer's number. Minshew did, because I didn't know what number he was. And, he's kind of, I hate to say frail, but he's smaller. Coy Detmer's technically, they said on the lineup sheet he was 6 feet even. He looked about 5'10". Minshew is like supposedly 6 feet and 7/10 of an inch. He doesn't look that tall.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is he played tall in the first half. They moved the football, and you you got to feel good as an Eagles fan because the way they started, giving up the big special teams return, they got lost in coverage at times in the first half. We'll get into Jonathan Gannon. It certainly wasn't pretty the first half. They were soft again in coverage. I am stunned. I have to get the blitz numbers, but very disappointed they didn't come after Zach Wilson, who you're just basically handing him yardage. You didn't pressure him. And the game, quite frankly, if more experienced quarterback could have torn them apart. And I was very disappointed, quite frankly, with the Eagles' game plan on defense. I thought it was completely I don't think I just think that you when you see a quarterback like that, I think it was flawed.
Yeah.
You have to come after him. And he's a rookie who's totally frenetic, and you handed him the game in the first half.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you. I'm resisting the temptation to say, well, they only gave up 18 points, so it couldn't have been that bad. But I mean, they did put themselves in an early hole by playing so soft that they basically allowed the Jets 3 straight times to go. Now, the first time was enabled by a very long kickoff return, but the next 2 times after that, the Jets were able to do what they wanted to do. And I agree with you. I thought that even if Jonathan Gannon knew that they were going to figge it out, I mean, why take the chance? You got an inexperienced guy. Go ahead. You did a nice job the week before, and the week before that, throwing a few blitzes at the opponent. An experienced quarterback would have done even more. But however, I wonder if he would have just dialed up more exotic stuff against in a more experienced quarterback, and he just decided to try to confuse this guy with back end stuff. I mean, it eventually worked, but I agree. I mean, you kind of gave yourself a look at what you do when you don't really do anything on defense, and I don't know if that was necessary. So I would agree with you on that one.
Right. I would just add this, some people will say, hey, listen, you could wipe out the first touchdown. They had it in minus territory because the special teams unit, obviously gave them incredible field position. And that's certainly true. And then after that, they only gave up 11 points. But
right.
I still think the way that they played Wilson was absolutely a mistake. That was totally flawed. I understand the second half they shut him out, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But, you play guys, you were saying, more experienced, and I just think that it would have been you could have had a different result there. But again, they won. They still scored 33 points.
Yeah.
There's a lot to feel really good about their offense in particular. There's a lot of good in that game, but some things they have to clean up.
Yeah, a couple of things stood out we'll get to on offense that I liked. And my big picture takeaway, and it's already, Nick Sirianni had his press conference after. As nice as it was from Gardner Minshew, and I wrote this as my number one observation for the game on InsideTheBirds.com piece, is that when Jalen Hurts is healthy, he's the starting quarterback. This is not – I know it's going to what it's going to be in Philadelphia this week because it just lends itself to great discussion and debate. I know it's going to be that way, but I think you and I are on the same page here. Good job, but Minshew did what a backup's supposed to do. A good backup's supposed to do: come in, stabilize the offense, win against a bad team, and then when the starter is healthy, the starter comes back into the game, and this should be Jalen Hurts' team or offense or ability to start as soon as he's healthy. Now, the question is, will he be healthy even with the bye week? We'll have to find out, and I'm sure more information will come out when we have some press conferences going forward.
Yeah, Sirianni did say after the game he kind of expects him to be ready after the bye.
Yeah.
That was basically what he said. So now, just refresh people, Geoff. So in your reporting, you had exclusively for us on the pregame show. So it is an ankle injury, but what else is wrong with this foot or ankle?
Right. If you caught ITB pregame live on Sunday before the show, what the information that we had was that, of course, he had the ankle injury, but the pain and the discomfort also stretched back toward his heel. And so it wasn't just the ankle, it was the heel, which is a big part of the foot. And that wasn't just causing issues with running, but also being able to plant and throw. And it was pretty obvious as the week went on that he just wasn't getting better to the point where any of that could be a strength against the Jets because he was getting fewer reps. I mean, the treatment, whatever he was getting done was not helping enough. So he was not. I mean, it was pretty apparent. I know players, and you know this too, players by Friday probably expected Gardner Minshew to start just based on the heavy volume of reps that Gardner was getting as the week went on. It was pretty obvious Gardner was going to be the guy there.
Yeah, so look, we'll see what happens. The bye week came at the right time. So Steven Nelson, injury-wise, before we move on and just break down the offense and defense. Nelson has a shoulder injury. He left and did not return. Zach McPherson replaced him. Number 27 got a penalty in the game.
Yep.
And then Kelsey, he's dealing with his knee. Sanders re-injured his ankle. This is now 3 times he's injured it. Bye comes at a great time. He looked good. Now, as we kind of look at the offense here, and they first half wise, Minshew was magnificent processing and doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to face a defense like this. They gave him so much room. First of all, there were so many plays in that game, in the first half, where the running backs were not getting hit until 5 yards downfield. Like first contact was 4 or 5 yards downfield.
Mm-hmm.
I know their line, give them credit. Their line's great, but their defense was pitiful. The Jets' defense didn't show up.
Yeah, it was bad.
Line had something to do with it,
It was bad. And to your point on the Sanders injury, I know that probably part of the discussion this week will be like he's brittle, he gets hurt all the time. It's the ankle. If you watch what happened, I mean, he was as he was getting tackled, CJ Mosley came and basically took a dive right onto his ankle. I mean, I'm not saying Mosley did it on purpose. What I'm saying is he fell directly on the back of Miles Sanders' ankle. I think that any running back at that point is going to probably get hurt in that position because the ankle is exposed and the linebacker fell right on it. So we'll see. Hopefully Miles will be all right and get back soon. We will get into breaking down this offense. First, I want to remind everybody, as we've been telling you, it's the holiday season, and you know you got those gifts to give, and you know you've got a few of those, what are they called, Pollyannas, where you just got to get somebody a gift and they grab it out of a bag. So what better way, right, to get something when you don't know what to get and you need a lot of options? You just go to Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun, because Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. And some of the things you can get on the app just sound too good to be true, like a car going for $900, a brand, which I would not recommend as a Pollyanna gift, a brand new TV for less than $2. You get that kind of stuff for $2 or less than a car for less than $900, you keep it. But there's a lot of great stuff, from household items to electronics to tools, kitchenware, anything for whatever price you are willing to commit in pennies for, and then hold out and win. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want. Get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the Deal Dash app. And when you register, use the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. All right, so let's talk about the offense. I think the one thing that really, well, there's a couple of things that stand out, but from a Gardner Minshew standpoint, Adam, I mean, they were clear. There was a good connection between him and Dallas Goedert. And it's been a while since Dallas has been like kind of the featured guy. I think some of that we'll find out is probably schemed that way and intentional. But, you know, take the case of the 35-yard touchdown. I thought that was really impressive, the first one, 36 yards, because that was a play action under center, which they did a lot of under center. And there was a blitz. He kind of ducked the guy, threw it up for Goedert, and Goedert caught the ball between traffic. And then people bounced off of him like they did in the old video games as he turned upfield and then finished
Big
it off.
boy Goddard is like called.
Yeah, for the touchdown. That was nice. That was just a well-executed play from both ends. Yeah,
he looked like, you know, he looked like a superhero. He's like fending off guys. He's like wearing the cape, and guys are draped all over him. He's like, get out of here. You know, he needs to get the ball more. I understand the Eagles don't throw the ball very much. Totally understand. But when they do, quite frankly, he should be the number one pass target, not Devontae. Goddard's a harder cover for me, I would think, defensively, because he's so big, so athletic. He's just a very unique player. I know Greg Cosell believes this. He and I have talked about it. He thinks he could be a top 5 tight end.
Yeah,
but they just don't feature him enough. A, B, they don't throw it enough, which we get. They're a running team right now, which they should be. Nobody's doing better. They're leading the NFL in rushing right now, so they should keep doing it. And again, 41 rushes, 185. Sanders was magnificent. For 5 yards of carry and 24. And Gainwell looked good, did a good job, had some nice catches in the game, as we mentioned earlier, the screen game. So, you know, offensively, they were great in the first half. I was kind of like, I remember I put on Twitter, people went out of their minds when I said it. What did I call it? The defense is an optional game at MetLife. I mean, it's just nobody was playing defense. Nobody saw this. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, you couldn't. It was fun to watch. You and I were watching it together. We're like, this is crazy. Like, who could have predicted this?
No, who could have? The one thing that stood out to me from a Gardner Minshew standpoint also, and why we won't get so crazy about it, and we were talking about this during the game, is that you could tell, like, the offense, if we're going to be fair, some of Jalen Hurts' better games, especially early on, we talked about the excessive amount of 1 read or 0 read plays, which is a screen, right? There was a ton of swing passes, a lot of screens. There was a lot of even some tight end screens to Goedert, which was cool. That was good. And obviously going under center, which they did a lot, opened up a play action game. So his throw to Dallas Goedert for the 25-yard touchdown, Goedert was wide open. And actually, if you go watch the play, he threw it to the wrong shoulder. Goddard had to kind of reach back for it. It was supposed to be a lead to the outside shoulder. It's a touchdown easily. Not that it wasn't a touchdown easily anyway, but just the same point. We're going to judge Gardner Minshew the same way we've judged Jalen Hurts or any quarterback. He made almost all of the throws that he made were very schemed throws, and there wasn't a whole lot of tight windows. I think his best throw was probably the play action rollout to Quez Watkins. I mean, that was right at the start of the third quarter. That was
beautiful,
really nice toss.
Yeah. I would just say the one issue that I have with Minshew is what probably the Jaguars had. His balls lose energy downfield. He has trouble driving it. Now the play to Smith, okay, it was sort of there. Smith, Devontae went up too early for it, but overall he's a short intermediate thrower. He was exactly like I thought he would be. Perfect for Goedert. Now the Jets helped. The coverage was pathetic. They're. I know that they'd been playing better. The previous two games they played well, but there was in the middle of the season they were so bad. The NFL's worst defense, over a 4-week period. They were giving up so many points, and this week, this game, the Eagles lost their energy in the second half to a degree. They didn't finish any drive. It was all field goals, but they ran the hell out of it, which is really interesting because Minshew was so efficient, though, from a positive standpoint. Maybe you want to keep throwing, but they didn't. They stay with their bread and butter because that's how they win. Because we didn't know going in. I'd said I thought they'd throw it a little bit more, maybe 5 to 7 more times, but still go with their identity, which they did. It was just they had so much success. I can't argue with it. I mean, the Jets just didn't stop them. And in fact, there are probably some runs. I have to find this out. Probably some runs that they probably were maybe. I thought Sanders, though, he didn't dance, but there's sometimes he's still trying to break everything big. That's just kind of what he does. He was good. He was very good.
Yeah. No, but you're making a good point. We talked in the pregame show a lot about how the run game would probably look different with Gardner Minshew because over the last 2 weeks prior, they had went back from under center to shotgun, and they were doing a lot more zone read and quarterback design runs, which you weren't going to see. And not only were we discussing they were doing that, but their conventional running offense was functioning well because of that. It had flip-flopped, right? That was the reason. The zone reads and the quarterback runs had really opened up the lanes for ball carriers because defenses were like playing everything everywhere. And this was a more conventional under center downhill attack for the most part. And Adam, I think through about, midway through the third quarter, I checked their rushing stats and they had a lot of rushing yards because they were committed to the run, but they were only averaging like 3.5, 3.6 a run, which is still nice, but not what they've done ordinarily. But as the game went on and you saw Miles Sanders rip off Miles Sanders' longest run was 9 yards until he had the 34-yarder, which was late in the third. So again, you're right. It wasn't as prolific and dynamic of a running game, but at the end of the day, it still finished with 185 yards on 41 carries and 4.5 per game. But you can see, as you were mentioning, how the lanes weren't when Jalen Hurts is not out there doing zone read and running himself, you can see that they got to work a little bit more for that yardage. I think that's completely correct.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about in the pregame because it would look different. We all said that, Yvonne, Cosell, myself, and yourself. We looked at it and said, this is going to be different. Now, they did summon. He was in the shotgun a little bit, mostly under center. But it was a situation where they had to look at it and say, okay, we're going to help Gardner Minshew here because he has not played. Hasn't started since last year. He's only been here a couple months. You don't really know what to expect from him because he hasn't worked with these players. The guys he was working with were backups. As a number 2 quarterback, that's who you work with in practice.
Right.
So he did a good look overall. We could complain in the second half that they didn't get touchdowns. Okay, that's fair because that's what happened. Right. But my goodness gracious, they rolled in the first half. It was kind of like a pinball machine, as you were alluding to. It was like whoop whoop both sides, and we'll get to the defense, which was extremely disappointing to say the least. But they roll. Look, in the end. You get greedy. You want to finish drives with touchdowns, but there's certainly plenty to correct, and the coaches will have all week to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll for Wednesday morning, the tape review podcast. We'll check and see if they did anything as far as to Devontae Smith or Quez or Jalen that kind of bottled them up a little bit, or if it was just a function of, 20 passes, 20 completions, 6 went to Goedert, and there had to be like 5 or 6 others that were quick hitters to the other guys. And like Gainwell had 5 catches himself, I think.
Yeah,
Gainwell. Yeah, Gainwell had 5 catches. So between that's only 9 left. So 3 for Watkins. And Miles Sanders had. So basically, you had 12 of your 20 completions going to the tight ends and the running backs, and that was really just the way the game plan was.
Encouraging. It was. This is one of the few games you and I projected on Friday. We got most of it right.
Mm-hmm.
We were counting on Minshew to play.
Right.
Every week, I pulled my hair out. I'm like, geez, they don't take advantage of matchups. Why can't I ever get this crap right?
No,
it's because they don't take advantage of matchups.
No,
and they did in this
They
game.
definitely saw something in the screen game that they knew they were going to be able to hit on that. I mean, it was screen after screen. Yeah, absolutely.
The space that they got.
I know. All right, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet $1 on any NFL team to score and win $100 in free bets. That's right. The team scores, you score using promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And of course, if you want to own your sportsbook, we've been telling you about BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They got a computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year, and it gives you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should place the bet. The model covers spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets, everything. And if you just like to do research yourself, no model, that's fine, because they've got all the necessary tools for your research needs, from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboard to track your success. So just go to the App Store or Google Play Store now, download BetQL, and you can also go to the website try.betql.co/ITB to get started. You just enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout to get 25% off their subscription offerings. And also make sure you look at their sportsbook offers page, because if you live in one of the eligible states, you can get free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. All right, let's talk about the defense. It was disappointing, especially early on. I know that I don't think they made any adjustments either. I don't think they did too much differently in the second half. I didn't all of a sudden see a bunch of blitzes. I think they got ahead. That helps. Then the offense gets one-dimensional. They may have tightened up some of the tackling over the middle, but for the most part, like you mentioned, they played like a ho-hum scheme and just figured the talent would win out, which I guess is what happened.
I was disappointed with the lack of pressure on the offensive line. I mean, they got a little bit, but I just thought that Gannon would do a good job of blitzing and disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the heat, then back off and mix it up. I'll see again what the blitz numbers look like. But Cosell and I think you and Greg were talking about in the pregame show. The Eagles are not a good get-home team with the blitz. They just don't blitz very well. So that was disappointing. Joshua had a nice game. It's no doubt about it. Javon Hargrave, I mean, he got there were 3 or 4 plays where you go, wow, he really showed up in that play, but he hasn't been the same since he was earlier in the season. I don't have it's not hurt. I just don't know what has to happen. The Jets have mostly a veteran offensive line. Duvernay Tardif got hurt in the game. I thought the Eagles get a little bit more pressure, and Gannon didn't do what I thought he would do. I thought for sure he'd bring the pressure, and he didn't do it from what I could tell, and not a lot.
No, you're right. In fact, they had 2 sacks, and I think that they could both fairly be described as coverage sacks. The first one was Sweat. It was a 3rd and 3, and it was clearly a 3-step drop. I think it was a slant that whatever wasn't there, and he kept dropping. Instead of 3, he dropped like 5, and he basically dropped himself into Josh Sweat's pressure. Josh Sweat probably was like, I wish that kind of play happens where someone just drifts right into me all the time. And then the second one, he had time to throw the ball and time. And then finally, he swallowed it up, tried to climb the pocket a little bit and climbed himself right into Javon Hargrave. That being said, Hargrave now has 2 sacks in straight weeks. So what's that, 8 that he has for the year? He's getting into some pretty good territory there for an Eagles defensive tackle.
It's weird. Like, because again, sacks are individual plays.
Right.
Maybe I'm looking for more splash plays. I don't know. I know the numbers look good on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He hit Wilson 3 times,
mm-hmm.
but I still don't think he's been nearly as explosive as earlier in the season. I'm not complaining here. I want to see more from him. I want to see that. Maybe my bar is way too high because he's so
you're
good.
right, man. The guy had 10 quarterback hits in the first 5 weeks of the season. Yeah. And he's had, I think, 3 or 4 in the last 5 weeks of the season. So he's also getting more attention now, but that's going to happen.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So I just thought they were too soft defensively. They gave up so much room in the first half. They didn't pressure. Whatever disguise he used did not work. We'll have more information Wednesday morning. from our tape sources. But overall, I was very disappointed with the game plan in the first half. I know you could, as a coach, you could say, well, the execution could be better, and that's certainly true. But the results are the results. They nearly weren't good enough. Much better in the second half. They shut him down. Wilson got frenetic. As you said, you're right. It's so much easier when you have a big lead. It's just so much easier to play defense because you can just play coverage. They're forced to throw. And by the way, their run defense was not good against Tevin Coleman in the first half. Coleman, who did well the previous week,
right?
They got behind, so they couldn't run the ball more. My guy Elijah Moore was good, man. The second half he didn't hurt them, but you got the touchdown, made some good plays against them. Crowder got them a little bit. Corey Davis got hurt, but overall, I'm kind of nonplussed. I know you could say, "Hey, man, they didn't give a point in the second half." It's definitely true, but I'm a 4 quarters guy. I want to see you come out with fire and brimstone, and Gannon didn't do it.
That's why you loved the last Eagles-Jets game in 2019 at the Link when Schwartz just dialed up every blitz under the sun against Luke Falk. I mean, he had, again, we talked about this. Orlando Scandrick had 2 sacks, right? Brandon Graham had 3 sacks. He had Scandrick and I think Nate Gary had touchdowns. It was crazy. It was just sack after sack after. I mean, it was unbelievable. Again, that was Luke Falk, who was a rookie free agent, if I'm not mistaken. This is a first-round pick who went number 2 overall.
I think he was drafted. I think he was actually drafted. Falk was
drafted, really?
I think. I'm reasonably sure he was drafted.
Okay, it's possible. It might have been like a 5th or a 6th, but yeah.
But that game was crazy. So they had 10 sacks.
Yep.
The great trivia question was who got the other set? Who got sacked? The other quarterback came in to relieve him.
That's right. David Fales, correct?
Yes.
There it is.
Got it. Yep.
9 sacks of Luke. And the funny thing is, I'm sure he's watching this game thinking, please don't put me in. Please don't get hurt. I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. He goes in for 1 snap and he gets sacked.
Exactly. It's so – oh, yeah, Falk I was right. He was a 6th-round pick out of Washington State. And I know he just got brutalized that game. I remember seeing a Jets executive before that game. And I said, hey, Luke Falk, huh? He goes, man. I think he said something like, pray for us, man. It's going to be hard today. The guy knew it. This is 2 years ago. He's like, because, you're playing an experienced quarterback. Now let's fast forward to this game. Mm-hmm. Zach Wilson's a pretty good athlete for the position. He's got a lot of ability, but he's a kind of a playmaker. He wants to do things sometimes his way rather than within structure.
Mm-hmm.
I think he overthinks things, and he struggled in the second half. But I just wish to finish my point on Gannon.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he wouldn't make it so easy for quarterbacks. I know it wasn't easy, but he made it easier for Wilson. He should have brought the heat. That was an absolutely tactical error. They did not do what I thought they should have done, and I was wrong on that. I thought they'd bring the heat.
Yeah, no, I was probably more on the defensive side of Jonathan Gannon for the first 5 or 6 weeks, but I completely agree with you. I thought he would force the issue a little bit more. I really did. And this is not like we don't want to put that on tape time. You need to win every game. And, I just don't understand why he was so lax.
Yeah.
At one point, Wilson was 7 for his first 8. I mean, this is a guy who completes 56% of his passes. I know it's been 60 over the last 2 weeks, and it was 60 again against the Eagles. But, I mean, come on. I was very surprised, too. And I sense that this week fans will also feel that way, even though they gave up 18, that fans will think that there could have been more damage done there. Last but not least on the defense, Marcus Epps had a interception, and it was kind of right place at the right time. It looked like they were in the inverted Tampa 2. Greg Cosell, awesome analysis. Him and Jason pointed out that Wilson tends to throw hot, right? And he's in the pocket there. He's got the live arm, and that's exactly how he sailed that ball too high.
Just like Jason said it. Just like he said it. That's exactly what he said.
I was like seeing Greg Cosell in my head when the play is going on.
Well, Jason was the first one to bring it up. He said it really bothered him when he watched the tape. Right. He goes, he throws it way too hard. You got to take something off of it. Yep. He needs a lot of work, and he'll get that in the offseason. But there's a lot to learn.
Jason Avant saying that Zach Wilson's tape was a painful watch was my favorite line of the entire pregame show.
Cosell uses that, like when I'll ask Greg about a particular quarterback. We do the segment with them on SiriusXM Fantasy every Friday, probably the last 15 years. Whenever he says it, because Greg tries to give you hints without burying a player. Mm-hmm. He'll go, oh, man, that was a really tough watch. And I'm like, say no more. I get it. And then Avant said it. I laughed because I'm like, where have I heard this before? Because I would hear it from Jaws and Greg when I go watch tape with them years ago, and they they try not to be overly critical, but they can't help it because they watch tape and they go, man, this is because I know they don't like watching bad football. You and I remember you and I would talk about the Eagles last season and Wentz, how tough it was to watch him. It was like, oh, I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean Wilson's going to be terrible. We talked a lot about how they want to kind of build that 49ers like scheme around him. You need your offensive lineman healthy. Becton is not. You need your quarterback to kind of be a little bit more precise when he's in the pocket, and then because clearly the movement plays worked well for him when he got outside the pocket. Thought he made some really nice throws to your buddy Elijah Moore, who's a really nice receiver. I think they've got some good components with Davis, Crowder, and Moore there. Vera Tucker has been a good guard for them. Becton will hopefully come back for them and be healthy, and I'm sure Joe Douglas will continue to add to that O-line. I'm curious to see what the Jets do next year because they should take a leap as long as the quarterback makes a jump there. But obviously, we're far from that. And so I was just making the point on Marcus Epps. He was in the right place at the right time. He still picked off the pass, and I like he gets more playing time, and it just seems like when he gets more playing time, he makes plays. And we were talking about why would the Eagles let Elijah Riley go to the Jets because they are not exactly brimming with young developmental safety talent. I definitely agree with you. I would have tried to held on to Elijah Riley.
Get it.
But Epps does give them somebody at least that you kind of look forward to. I don't know if he's still young anymore, right? He's been in the league 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, Epps I'll tell you what, he's been a nice story. We don't talk about him enough. He's done a good job. He's developing on a defense where you scratch your head sometimes, like who are the players of the future? Marcus Epps, who they claimed off waivers a couple years ago. He's only 20, turns 26 in January, but yeah, he's developing. No question. Now, is he? Here's the thing, though. As we finish off defense here, you have to look at it. You know who the players of the future are. Hargrave's a stud. Sweat's a good player. Now they need to use him the right way, but he had a good game on Sunday. If Milton Williams is a player, he got banged up in the game, although I think he's okay. And we don't know anything about Patrick Johnson, who got hurt in the game. Teron Jackson does play.
Right.
He's got some snaps this season. We'll see if he could develop. But you don't really have, like the nucleus like they have on offense. They don't really have – Vontae Max is off with their slot. Slay will be around a couple more years. But to me, and we're going to – during the bye week, the great thing about the bye week is we have some extra shows where we could devote some stuff to the future. That's a great discussion I'd love to have with you this coming week, is that what is the future of this football team? What does it look like? Who are the guys you're going to build with? And that's something they're going to have to take a hard look at. There are some building blocks, and we know right now they have 3 first-round picks, or should. Yeah, in fact, they do now. It's clinched. It was clinched with Wentz playing and finishing. So
that's right.
They're going to have that, and that's where they're at.
All right, one more guy I want to talk about, and one quick point before we get out of here. First, I'll tell everybody, as we always do, check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you're checking them out and all their great work at phlsportsnation.com. And, of course, you can find them on Twitter at phlsportsnation. We'll take a quick break to hear for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you hop in there to Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you, and that's whether you're buying or selling your automobile, you'll get the best deal. We got to talk about Jake Elliott, Adam, because he had a terrible, he had a very bad year last year, and we talked about I hope people listen to us in the offseason going in. We talked about how it wasn't just all on him. There was some issues with the process as far as, you got the punter, the holder, and the kicker, right? It's all a process. And apparently that process, has been worked out. Plus you have Aaron Sipos as the punter now, and he must be acclimating himself nicely because the kicks have been really good this year. I mean, for Jake Elliott to have that kind of game was impressive.
It was, what we were told was that the process from the snap, the hold, and the kick, most of it was not on. There was just a little bit off for Elliott. It wasn't on Elliott. It was just the timing was really off, and it just was not corrected. So I guess it's Tyler Brown who would be responsible for that, and he obviously has done a great job. The son of Randy Brown, who's the assistant special team coach for the Ravens, who started his career in the NFL with Harbaugh here in Philly. and they both obviously went to Baltimore. But Tyler's done a phenomenal job. He was at Michigan, so that's a positive. Jake Elliott is completely rebounding. I think he's only missed 2 field goals this season. He's been great. The coverage units for the most part have been pretty good. They just had a flawed play to start the game. It's kind of crazy. There's another return which also was decent. Braxton Berrios, who got that. But and the Sipos is a guy that they found, an Australian rules kicker, and was with the Lions, and that's a good find for them. So there've been some positives. We don't talk about special teams enough, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, Jake Elliott is back. In fact, I don't think he's ever been this good in terms of just the cleanness of his kicks.
Right.
So it's been a good story.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like when he lines up the kick now, you have a confidence that he's probably going to make the kick no matter where it is. Even when he was good a couple of years ago, 2017, 18, he had this thing where he would miss the close ones. Remember that? He would nail the 50 and 60 or the 50 yarders, and then some of the 21 yarders would go off. But he's pretty consistent now. He's doing a great job. And it's important because he had signed that extension going into last year, and it started to look like, oh my God, 1 year into the extension, the Eagles might need another kicker, but they were patient with it. They worked out the process, and he's having a really good year. He had 4 field goals there in the second half, 31, 32, 43, 46. So that was a big part of the game. That's 12 points right there. So good job by Jake Elliott. And I just wanted to mention how the Lions got their first win. They beat the Vikings 29-27. Unbelievably, they get a touchdown on the final play of the game. I don't know how that happens if you're the Vikings and your coverage allows that. But nonetheless, that helps the Eagles out because it looked like the way as you're jockeying for, and it only helps them out a little bit. Anything can, obviously the Eagles still need to win as many games, but Minnesota was one of those teams that had a wild card spot looking like they were going to definitely get one. And now you kind of wonder, you lose to the Lions, you could probably lose to anybody.
Yeah, look, the Lions, I was texting a buddy of mine with the Lions, and I just said, hey, man, I'm so glad I didn't jinx you, because I was going to text and say, man, I think you're going to get this one. And whenever I do that, I'm always wrong, so I don't want to jinx anybody. But I'm so glad that they get that 0 out. They got robbed by that Ravens game where the refs missed the delay game. It's ridiculous. He self-inflicts the wounds. It's funny we're talking about the Lions, but Dan Campbell was so mad when the Eagles smoked him and ran all over him. He was embarrassed because they were not physical. You remember what was it? What did he say?
They were not eating kneecaps that day. Right. I tell you. Well, they were eating dust.
Yeah, exactly. It's been such a crazy season for the Eagles. Who the hell knew they would become a running team? You couldn't make this up, but there's no way I would have ever believed it. Now, as Jason Avant did say, though, on our first show, he said the Eagles should be a running team this year, and I kind of scoffed, like, come on, that's not going to happen.
No, he did. He called it.
That was a great call. Well, it didn't happen until the 6th week. But
better late than never.
Or 7th week. Yeah. Against and the Raiders, they got blown out. They gave up 30 straight points, but that was a portent of things to come. And kudos to Sirianni, swallows pride, do what's best for the football team, and which he keeps saying. What's best is they win. And boy, their offensive line, I don't know what else you could say about their offensive line. People can talk all they want about the schedule. Some of it's been beneficial, but you know what? Look what they did to the Saints. That clinched it for me, how dominant this offensive line is.
No doubt about it. All right, our next podcast will drop Wednesday, 6 a.m. We'll review the tape. We'll get the sourced breakdown of what went right, what went wrong, which is going to be good. We'll give you more on the Gardner Minshew and the passing game, of course, and on defense, what went on there. And then Friday, we won't have a game to preview, so Adam and I will I'm sure we'll have some things to talk about. And then as the bye week goes on, as Adam portended, we are going to talk about the direction of the team, look back, look forward, and do some stuff as we pass some time before the Eagles' next game. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, of course, to Hunter Brody, our producer. You can find his work on YouTube it's called Sports Talk. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His website is broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.